you haven't got the awareness to get in the box in the first place, you're never ever going to see that different journey.
How do you know when it's imposter syndrome or when you're just shit?
Yeah, sorry, that's the Marmite in me there. Sorry, you might have to cut that bit out. 4 Fs, right? The 4 Fs. When you make a bad shot, the first F is fuck.
On this week's episode of The Engaging Marketeer, I am speaking with Ashley Lawrence, also known as the Flip-Flop Psycho. No, he doesn't kill people with flip-flops, or at least I don't think that he does. I haven't actually checked that. I should ask. But no, Ash Lawrence he's a coach. He's a business expert. He's a psychologist. He helps people with the issues that stop them excelling, the issues that stop them achieving the goals that they want to achieve. So I'm going to be talking to Ash about how he does that and what his theories are on what's stopping businesses from growing that extra mile and getting to where they want to go. This is going to be a good one. The first thing, obviously, that's stuck in my mind is, why have you gone with the name the Flip-Flop Psycho? It's a bit aggressive.
Yeah, so that's just probably, yeah, that suits my Marmite personality probably. Quite a while ago, about 10 years, I think, I was working with a personal trainer in a gym, and he recommended a client to me, and the client came along to one of my seminars, and he owned the hotel that I was doing a seminar in. Anyway, after that, he come to that, and then he came on as a client, which is good. He still is a client today. And he came on my Millionaire Mindset seminar. And what I did, everybody on the first session, I get them to introduce themselves, how they come to be there, what they wanted, etc., etc. And part of his story was he turned up after visiting the same personal trainer as me, come to the seminar expecting to see the psychologist on the stage in a suit, and what he saw is a guy in his shorts and flip-flops, and a psychologist. He said, so it just come into my head, we've got a flip-flop psycho here. And that's how it come, and it's actually been a very good brand for us. It's worked quite well. People remember me.
They definitely remember you. Yeah. Do you get any sort of questions about, why have you gone with a psycho? Are you going to start shouting at me? Are you going to get all aggressive, that sort of thing?
I think the thing of it is, as soon as somebody says to you, what do you do? I tend not to say I'm a psychologist, because when you do that, they fingers together, go away, you're not analysing me. Because everybody's perception of a psychologist is, that they're going to be analysing everybody at every moment. And it's, nothing could be further from the truth, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
So you're not analysing me right now?
I've already done it, mate. You're done.
Shit.
That's what they all say.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that's why they put the defences up, isn't it? Yeah, be careful what I say. He's going to read into my deepest, darkest secrets and know all the things that I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, people tend to do that, but do you know, I do see. I've got to say this: language patterns and behaviour patterns, because people, they are habitual, and they'll keep using the same language patterns, and they'll keep doing stuff in the way that they've always done it. And because of that, it's very good for me, because I can predict what they're going to do in the future based on what they've done in the past.
And can people, business owners specifically, change their habitual language patterns?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope so. Otherwise, I'd be out of a job. Listen, I think it's a fallacy. We're taught, oh, you are who you are, but that's not necessarily true. Personality-wise, you can almost be whatever you want to be if you want to put the time in to do it. People do change. I'm a great believer in, everything is cause and effect. So we've got what we deserve to a certain degree. And, especially in business, if you haven't got the right results in your business, it's because you're not doing the right things. It's as simple as that. So you need to change what you're doing. If you haven't got enough money, you've got to change what you're doing to earn more money. If you're not happy, you've got to change what you're doing to make you happy. So, I believe that. So yes, people can change.
And obviously, as people, we tend to not like change. We tend to be distrustful of change and try to stay in our comfort zone whenever possible. How easy is it for someone to actually get out of that and embrace the change they need to do?
I think there's an old saying, it's not until the pain of the same is greater than the pain of change that people change. And generally, it has to be quite painful for people to change the habit that they're in, because that is why there's so much stuff going on that if we had to think about every single action that we did, we'd just be overloaded. So that's why the habitual practices are there. But you have to be aware that the practice and of what you're doing is giving you what you're getting. So if you want something different, you've got to do something. I mean, it's an old adage, you've heard it said. And I think, but most people, they put up with the pain until it gets too bad, and then they change.
So
if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. If you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always an excuse people are put in the way of every opportunity.
Of course they will. It's ridiculous. Everybody's done it. I used to say, oh yeah, well, I didn't do well at school because I couldn't read or write properly, and I couldn't read or write properly because I'm dyslexic. Left-handed devil's child and all that old stuff. But you know what? If you put enough effort into it and put the time to it, you can do it.
So do people come to you already embraced in the fact that they're going to have to change something, or do they come to you not knowing what the problem is and then you lead them down the route of change?
Right, that's a really good question.
No, thank you. I do have them.
I'm fully aware. But most of the people that come to me, over 90% of the people that come to me have come from recommendation from somebody else. So either a client or somebody that knows of me, or somebody that's seen me on TikTok or LinkedIn or something like that, and think, yeah, I need this. So that's where they come. So they've already got something that they're not happy in their life with, something, so that they want to change it, or they're not getting the result that they want. That generally is, especially with sports people. Some of the footballers that I work with, they want to go from being a really good footballer to a great footballer, and that gap is all about mindset.
And one of the things I've seen you talk about on your website is fear.
Yeah.
Fear that stops businesses from succeeding, fear that stops sports people from succeeding. How does fear manifest itself in a business owner or a sportsman?
So with a business owner, generally the fear comes from being found out. So the impostor syndrome is a good one for people. They're worried about, oh, what am I doing here? Will they actually find out that I'm making it up? Fear of risk, that's the biggest one. You had a smile there, made you chuckle on the imposter syndrome. But risk, the biggest risk is not taking a risk. Funny, a lot of business owners are risk averse, which is a big fear. Sportsmen, especially the ones that play in big arenas, if you're playing in front of 30,000-40,000 people every week, the fear of looking an idiot is part of it. And I think, one of the big steps is, first of all, it's natural to be fearful sometimes. That's where the fight or flight bit steps in and actually pushes us forward. But others, it holds back. So it's choosing.
And a nice easy question for you: how do you overcome your personal fears?
So awareness precedes change. So you really need to know that you can change, and it's all about belief systems. And I think I work with something on a psychological basis that's called the cognitive thought process. So we'll have a belief. The belief will then form a thought. The thought will create an emotion. The emotion will then lead us to take action. The action will give us a result, because everything is cause and effect. And then, because of something called confirmation bias, the result that we get will confirm the belief that we had in the first place. So we go round in this circle. So understanding the start of all of it, which is where I tend to start with my clients, depending what the challenge is, that let's have a look at what you believe about this. What's your belief? I believe that business networking doesn't work. If somebody says that, you then go around in a circle of, their actions based on that, based on their belief.
Mm. Do you know, I heard that very same comment about business networking just the other day.
Really?
Somebody said to me, because I was inviting people to a networking meeting, somebody said to me that the kind of clients we want to deal with are never at networking, because we deal with big businesses and high street brands, not the small to medium-sized businesses that are there, so there's no point us coming.
Yeah. And that's a belief system, see? So they believe, but what they don't realise is the average person, not the average business person, but the average human being has 250 people in their circle of influence. The average business owner has double that. And if you think about it, is how do you get to those people? And if you don't actually make an impression on the person that is next to you, then you're never going to get to their second circle of influence. And that's what happens is people go to a smaller networking and think, oh, where's a accountant here? I've already got one. I don't need to see him. There's a financial advisor. I don't need that. There's a psychologist. He's going to be a twat. So I don't want, and he's going to analyze me. So I don't want to be with him. All of the things they think small. And, for me, it's looking at who are the influencers. Look for those people, and connect with them. And if you make an impression with that person, the chances are that they will recommend you to that bigger person. So networking works. I've stood in the line, I support a certain football club, and we was playing at Wembley a little while back where our ground was being built. Not saying anything.
I can see, yeah. For those who aren't watching the video, it's Tottenham Hotspur. There's a flag on the wall behind him.
Yes, get in. But I was standing in the queue there, and there was this massive guy. I'm quite big at 6'4". He must have been about 6'8". Massive guy, obviously a bodybuilder as well. And we got chatting. He ended up. I found out he had a big company in North London, and I ended up speaking to all of his sales team and giving some help about that. So, you're always networking. You get what you network for. But if your mind is, oh, this person is standing in a queue, he's a football supporter, he ain't going to be any good to me, then that's what you'll get.
Do you know, when that person messaged me that, because I've heard it so many times, yeah. I almost didn't bother replying, but I did, and I was probably a little bit petulant with it, which I think I shouldn't have done. But I went along the lines of, I do hear that a lot. There's a lot of people say that, there's not the right size businesses in networking groups, and that's understandable. But you're not actually there to sell to the room. You're there to meet people who have connections that would be great for you. For instance, I introduced somebody a couple of years ago to the PR director of Asda because I happen to know him. He's a friend of mine. You won't get that kind of business in a networking group like that, but you will get people who can connect you to them. And I don't know whether this was the right approach. She never came back to me. She ignored it. But can you change people's minds like that when I don't do networking, it's full of small businesses, it's crap, it's not going to work for me?
Yeah, you do. That's my job, changing people's minds, but they got to want to do that. And if you think about it, how you and I have come together to be doing this today is through a guy that I met doing a talk up in North Wales, a long way out from where I am. And
for Utility Warehouse as well, yeah.
And exactly for UW. Yeah. And you just good pun there. I love the way you got that in there, mate. But that's the whole bit, for me to be there speaking at that event and talking about mindset, and then end up obviously made an impression on the guy that's connected us. Something's gone in. You're always networking, and you get what you network for. Whether you're in a queue at football, wherever, in a queue at the shops, it doesn't matter. But if you don't engage, networking's not about the name over the door. It's about you. And if you don't get anything from a network meeting, it's because you're crap at it. In a nutshell, you're the one. Learn how to do it. Yeah, sorry, that's the Marmite in me there. Sorry, you might have to cut that bit out.
No, we won't be cutting anything out. Don't worry about that. No, you feel free to swear if you like. It's fine. And no, I completely agree. There's so many people out there that just don't understand networking. They just don't get it. They think they turn along, they say what they do. I'm a web designer. I build websites. Who wants a website? And suddenly 5 people are going to walk up to them and go, yeah, I want a website. Do this. And it just doesn't work like that.
No.
It's not how it is. It's infuriating that people still think it happens like that in this day and age.
If that's what they want to believe, that's their shit. They got to get on with it, haven't they? If one of the biggest things I've learned from being in business since I was 21, so quite a while now, is the fact it's not what you know, it's who you know, and not only who you know, but how well you know them, but more importantly, how well do they know you? And the chances are most people that are new to networking go hand their business cards out and expect it to work. It's not quite like that. It's about building long-term relationships. And, I connect that and put it together like this. It's why are sex and networking very similar? Because if the only time you talk to your partner is when you want sex, you're not going to get very much sex. Networking's the same as that. If the only time you turn up to a network meeting is because you want business, you won't get much of it. It's about building the relationship over a period of time and keeping the relationship warm. And that's what networking is. I've got, I remember when in my previous business, the one that I sold 22 years ago now, I remember when the first mobile phones, they were like very big. And I got my first mobile phone, I think somewhere around about 1985-ish, 86. And it was like carrying a suitcase around with this great big brick on it. And the guy that I bought my mobile phone with, I still bought my phone from him and upgraded it right the way through till iPhone came out. And coincidentally, he sold his business that same year as the iPhone came out. And all of that time, we were using each other because the relationship was good, because he looked after me. I recommended him to everybody. And that's what business is about. It's about building great relationships, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah, one of the biggest comebacks I get when I do invite people to networking is that I don't go to networking, I don't go to events like that because it's not worth my time. But feel free to circulate my details among your group. I'm happy to work with any of them if they need me.
Of course you are. Of course you are. Let's take as much as I can from this without giving you anything back. Love it.
Yeah. How to tell somebody that you're just not interested and you're a taker without telling them that you're a taker. Yeah.
Correct. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier on about one of the biggest problems businesses have is the imposter syndrome.
One of the biggest fears, yeah.
I get this quite regularly because Engage Web's been going 15 years and we've got 12 people here and we've got clients all over the world, but I still get imposter syndrome every now and then. I think, oh, that client has only been with us because of that, or we're only doing this with that client. This one left us. What went wrong? What did we do wrong? Why aren't we 30 people by now? Why aren't we earning 5 million a year? That sort of thing. How do you know when it's imposter syndrome or when you're just shit? As a genuine question.
If you're just shit, the chances are you won't keep getting much work. The imposter syndrome, and if for those of your viewers that are interested, if they go onto my website, there's a free webinar they can get about it. And it's funny because back in lockdown, I don't know if you've been on there, I was in Clubhouse.
Yeah, I remember Clubhouse, yeah. I remember Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's it. But I got involved with a really good friend and a client of mine, social media lady, Zoe Kearns. And we did regular, and we was getting 15,000 people into a Clubhouse. And the biggest subject that we talked about a lot and was very popular was imposter syndrome. And one of the things and that's it, if any of your people want to email me, they can have the webinar, but there's also a free ebook on it that I've written. They can have that as well.
I'll pop the link for that directly below the podcast so they can click straight on it.
Brilliant. I'll share that for you. And the whole thing of that is the first step is to actually say, well, it's imposter symptoms, not syndrome. And you've just got those symptoms. It doesn't mean they're real. It's just what your belief is or what you're thinking. And it's funny, the amount of successful people that have got it, and it's not a fixed thing. It's just symptoms that you're experiencing that are created by your thought process. So part of that thought process is to think differently, and start to say to yourself, well, what if I actually thought that I deserve this? Why wouldn't you? You're doing it. There's other people. Well, why wouldn't you do that? Worrying about it. And, if you're shit, you just won't get any clients. That's, you'll have a few, but in the end, they'll all naff off and go and work with somebody who knows what they're doing. And, it's quite a complicated little thing, but it's quite easy to fix if you want to.
Well, I have to ask then, how do you fix it? Asking for somebody who seems to suffer from it quite a lot.
So definitely get the ebook. I'll send you the copy of the ebook. I mean, it is a set of symptoms, and the thing of it is, one of the things, it's a classic cognitive behavioural therapy process that I use for something like that. When you're starting to think like that. So get an elastic band around your wrist, and every time you have the thought, I'm not good enough, or I shouldn't be here, flick the elastic band till it hurts. You'll soon get naffed off with that, and replace the negative thought with 3 positive alternatives. And what that does, it rewires the synapse in your mind, in your brain, and you'll start to think differently. It's only a thought process brought on, without getting too deep into the psychology of it. Most of us are brought up from a child, and it's what we learn in the first 5 to 7 years of our life that we then continue through a process through our whole life. And there's 2 bits there that are either an inhibitive negative habit pattern or a compulsive negative habit pattern. One leads to a fear of failure, and one leads to fear of rejection. And what happens, because our parents have, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, no, don't do that, no, that's wrong. We have the fear of failure, which is the inhibitive one. And then the compulsive one is where the parent says, if you do that, and then in the tone, the child is thinking, oh, they won't love me if I do that. So then they have the fear of rejection. So they've been put into us by the way that, not that our parents knew any different, because they're trying to protect us. However, we come up with that fear of failure and that fear of rejection. And all of the time, what if I get this wrong? Oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. What if somebody actually finds out that I'm not that good? And it's just a thought process. It's easy to stop if you want to stop it.
And that, I imagine that's particularly poignant then for business owners that have to sell their services.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's where the biggest fear of rejection and failure comes in, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely fear of rejection for sales. On my sales seminars, it's quite funny because I'll get everybody to write down the first thoughts that come into their head when I say to them, so what's the first thought that you have in your head when I talk about car salesman or double glazing salesman or insurance salesman or timeshare salesman? Although I don't think the timeshares exist anymore.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
they do.
Just looking at your face there was quite good. And they write down all the negative things about those people. And then I say to people, right, what we're going to do now, you're going to make a phone call in front of everybody else in here, a cold phone call to a complete stranger. Just watch I'll film it and I watch their body language and I'll show the film back and show them the body language. Yeah, just exactly like that.
Yeah, just thinking about it's making me worried.
Yeah, because people at some stage, at a fundamental level, have got fear of rejection. But, at the end of the day, it's like anything, boys not asking girls out for a date because, what if they say no? Yeah, but what if they say yes? Just no. Next opportunity, move on. Like it's not personal. It's just that other person. And I think that is crucial to, worrying about being rejected is just crazy.
I'm still thinking about making a cold phone call. It's not for me. And I think I'm quite good at sales, but not cold.
It's just a conversation. It's just a conversation.
It is. I think the problem I have is I'm not good, funnily enough, what we're having now on a one-to-one basis, because it requires a lot more listening. I'm quite good on a stage talking to many people because it's a performance and I'm hiding behind a mask. It's not really me. It's an exaggerated version of me, which I believe a lot of comedians and musicians
Yeah.
use as well. It's a persona. But when you're talking to somebody on a one-to-one basis, whether it be face-to-face, on video call like this, or a phone call, all barriers are kind of broken down. It's you, personally you, and that's the bit I struggle with.
It's interesting. That's a really interesting concept, and it's funny because I just before this call, I had a discovery call with a new client, again, come from a recommendation, and in sales, the guy, and we had a conversation about this. And from I when I mean my last business was all sales, and we sold that business in 2002. But I'd already started studying psychology right away back in 1995. And I'd got to a stage where I'd changed that business to a business that I could actually sell it and walk away from, which I did. And I was lucky enough, got a couple of quid for it, and started the psychology business as we do it now, and the coaching business. So it's 22 years old. And part of that, I joined a big coaching group in the country that was starting off in this country that had come across from Australia. Really good company. That company was the fastest growing business in Australia for 2 years. And I went on and they come here, and I joined as one of the partners in that company. And we went on one of their training days at the Richmond Hill Hotel. And I remember having a session in the morning, and it was all about us as people. And I went out and sat on the bench and looked out over the river at lunchtime and cried my eyes out for half an hour, and realized that half of my life, or most of my life, had been a lie, because I was one thing in front of a group of people, but then different in front of another group of people, and then different in front of another group of people. And I had wearing all these different masks, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it. And on that day, and I remember the day well, it was funny enough, all the 4th of April 2004. And on that day, I made a decision to be authentic completely, and to live my life open, honest, and fair. So if somebody asks me a question, I'll say it to my truth. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to be different. I'm just me. Okay, this is it. If you like it, great. If you don't, well, that's based on your perception of reality and of the world. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just the way that it is. And once you can actually do that, it makes some fundamental changes in the way that we see the world. And I think, once everybody wears different masks, everybody does it, but once you can spin it down, and, whether I'm with my boys, if I'm out with my boys, I'm the same with my boys as if I am with anybody else. Exactly the same with my mates. And, and like if I'm in court for my sins, I'm a chair of our local magistrates bench. So I sit there. So if I'm in court, I'm exactly the same as I would be now. It would be no different. It'd be, so if I pass a sentence, it's exactly the same. So this is me. And some like it, some don't. And that's just the way that it is.
You painted a very vivid picture there, because I've been to that hotel.
Have you really?
For events, yeah, I've been to that hotel. If you're for business mergers and acquisition events,
right.
So I've walked along those benches over that hill down to a really nice Italian on the bottom of the street as well.
That's it.
So I know where you were sat, and I know what you were looking at. It's a fantastic view from there.
Keith Richards' house is on the left, on the one that sits there, or it was then.
How was it?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So what you were saying then about you having different performing and basically reacting different ways to different people, not only is it causing you to react in different ways, potentially you might not even know what the true you is.
And that's the bit in the beginning. And I think, that's the journey of self-discovery. And this is probably where people go, oh, this is woo-woo stuff, but it was a big thing for me, because I was going through a divorce as well at that time. And, and I remember, and this is personal stuff really, but I remember saying to my ex-wife, the mother of my boys, that, I'll get through this and I'll definitely come back. But I had no intention of going back. I wasn't going back, and it was a lie. And that was one of the lies that stopped. And I've come back from that seminar that day and said, look, it's not happening. I'm not coming back. I've got this journey to make, and that's where it is. And that's the way. And I made that decision that day to not lie ever again. So whatever, I'm not going to lie. I just refuse to lie about anything. And bigger at that, it's lie to myself. You're not good enough. You can't do this. You're an imposter. I'm not doing them lies because it's not true. You can do anything if you put your mind to it, if you want to do it. If you do, you'll do it. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. We've said that. It's tough.
I think from my personal point of view, I think I've been doing it because I've got an inherent need to be liked. I think that's my issue.
Fear of rejection.
There we go. Fear of rejection. So I perform differently. I act and perform differently depending on the situations. Yeah. I mean, I always remember my sister telling me to stop showing off when, a friend came round, because I would perform differently because I wanted my friend to like me more, so I'd be different. Whereas if I was just there with my mum, I would be very quiet until something else. So it's bloody hell.
That's a good one, and I'll give you an example. And if I bore you, just tell me, Ash, shut up. But I played indoor cricket. Right? I played for England 52 times.
Wow.
Out of that 52 times, I was captain for 30 times for that England squad. And as captain of the squad, I used to be the fines master. So especially if we was on tour, and in South Africa, they were brilliant, the South Africans. But if we was on tour, we'd have a laugh. So if somebody messed up, there'd always be a fine. Now that fine could be they got a drink, but anything, there's a fine. And I was brutal, right? I was brutal. I was totally like no empathy, nothing. So that was me and part of that bit. And then I went on a reunion. My wife now, Sarah, she come with me, and on the reunion, I'm in the group with all of the old team. This was about, I don't know, 2015-ish, 15. And afterwards, she said to me, do you realise your personality changed while you was with them? And and I said, do you know what? I didn't realise it. She said, you was brutal to them boys. You're not like that with your clients. And then it just struck that's exactly, I'd got sucked into putting a mask back on instead of just being it, because that's what I'd been trained to do. And it's very easy. So the next day, that was the first night. And the next day, I actually got back to being the Ash that was asking more questions, Ash that was actually interested, rather than Ash that was taking the piss. Does that make sense?
It does, but I've got another question to follow up from that then.
Okay,
does this mean when you're on a stage like you were for Utility Warehouse performing a keynote in front of however many people, you're exactly the same there on that stage in front of people as you are when you're at home? Absolutely.
There's no pretense. I don't. And if you spoke to my wife or my boys or my friends, the guys I play golf with now and everything, they say I'm exactly the same. I chose that level, and part of this is the whole reason I got into psychology is because I diagnosed. I mean, I hate labels with a passion, but I was diagnosed as bipolar, and which got me into learning the psychology of how to beat the problem without medication, which I've done now. But bear in mind that's 30 years ago now, or 29. And I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down. And I thought, right, what's the level? Now I understand the level, not right up here, mega all the time, but 80%, but all the time is the same. And it's choosing to be calm. And that is the part of all of that, in my mind, that's where I choose to be. You can choose to be it. The guy that I spoke to this morning about anger issues, you choose to be angry because you've used that anger to get a result, and that result worked, so you keep doing it. You've got a learnt behaviour. So stop being angry. Learn how to do it, other ways. And it's like, my dad, typical East End, we did something wrong on my mum, you'd get a clip for it. That was it. There's no, you smacked. But my three boys have come up now, they didn't get 5 smacks between them in the whole of their life. Up to now, they didn't do it because I dealt with it in a different way. And that's what you choose. You choose what you want to be. What you believe about you will always come true.
And how difficult is it to pick that level of you, that volume, if you like, of what you're going to be, and then maintain it?
I'm not going to say it's easy, but once you do, like you learn to be the way you're not getting the best result, you can learn to be something different. And I think, and that's the bit. It's all about being aware of where you are, and awareness precedes change. And if I give you an example, an analogy, imagine you're in a high street, and at the end of the high street, you look down one end, and there's a glass box against the wall of this, right, against the wall. You look back down the high street, and you can see all the people shopping, and you can do that. And then you walk to the box because there's other people in the box, and then the doors close on the box, and you turn around. And you think, oh, what's happening here? And all of a sudden, the box goes up because it's a glass lift. And now you didn't know lifts existed. But you're in this box and you've gone, wow, what's happening here? And you've gone up a level. And then all of a sudden, looking out of this glass box, you can see quite a bit further. Now, because you can start to see a bit further, there's a bigger field. You think, blimey. And then you look up and then you say, wow, look how far this goes. But if you haven't got the awareness to get in the box in the first place, you're never ever going to see that different journey. And most people think what they see in front of them, based on their beliefs, is their reality. But it's bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. There's an analogy for you.
I love it. I love it. Does it get tiring, though? Because you said you were at 80%, didn't you?
I perform at 80% most of the time. That's where I am, rather than being flat out. I'm not saying I'm not knackered sometimes, but the personality and the character now, what you're getting here is exactly how I would be on the stage. And if you asked our mutual friend, he'd tell you this is how I perform there, because, I tell stories based on my experience, and I also base it on my knowledge about the psychology of the human brain. And, people can choose to either accept it or they can choose to say, it's a load of crap. You can't change your personality. You are what you are. And if that's what you believe, guess what? That's what you get.
Yeah.
And
in their case, they're right because they can't, because they won't.
Exactly. But for others, one of the young lads I worked with years ago, a footballer, it's funny enough, I did a program on the BBC 2012-ish, I think it was, because I'd worked with a football league team and they'd gone from second and was right up into the playoffs and didn't lose away from Hart. Anyway, loads of stuff. And the BBC come and did it. And off at the back of the programme, a lady phoned me and she said, oh, can you help my son? I said, well, of course I can. What's the problem? She said, he's got anger issues. Great footballer, but he's got anger issues. And I said, yeah. So we worked together. He was only, he was very young at the time. Well, young, I think he was 16. But a whole load of stuff. And he was playing for a League One team at the time. We had 6 months. He then got a transfer to a Premiership club. He played in a Premiership club, played for England, and went on and done really, really well. But it was changing from that angry lad that wanted to protect his younger siblings because it was a single parent family, mixed race as well. And he was this, I am the male in the house now. And once he let go of that persona, he started to focus on his football and played great football. And that's the part of what it's all about, is choosing to leave behind that learnt behaviour that you've had that's got you the result to get you where you are. If you want something different, you've got to change what you're doing.
Well, as you've brought up football and psychology of football is important, I have to bring up the Tottenham question. Tottenham have a bit of a reputation of not
Spursy.
Quite Spursy. Yeah, you said it. You said it. Not quite going through with what was required.
Bit different than Crew Alexander, isn't it?
Yeah, and Harry Kane epitomises that in many respects because he's obviously the record England goal scorer. He's one of the greatest English players that's ever been, but he's never won a trophy in his life.
No.
How much is that now? Even though he's at Bayern Munich and he's breaking all records at Bayern Munich, he still hasn't won a trophy. How much is that mentally going to affect him?
So again, that's a really interesting thing. So where NATO, I'm going to say NATO. NATO, right? It's an acronym. And
Okay.
one of the first things that I talk to people about, whether you're in business, whether you're in sport, is not attached to outcome. Right? All the time that you're emotionally attached to the outcome, it actually restricts your ability to perform at the level that you do. Now, everybody said Harry's going because he wants trophies. It's bigger than that. Okay, it's not about the trophies, right? For some, it might be, right? And some people are naturally talented. But most of the problems come when you're focused so much on the outcome to get that outcome, to get that trophy, that the process is missed and you therefore don't get it. So for me, the whole thing about all sports people, if I'm right about Harry, yes, he'd like to win a trophy, but it's not about that. Harry's about, performing at his very best, because if he knows if he does his job, the team will do well. But they've got to do their jobs as well to provide the ball to him. And the England, and if you really get me on that bit now, the England thing in the final, everybody's saying about Harry dropping deeper, but he wasn't getting the ball up further up. And the rest of the team were dropping so far back that he had to come to do that. And if he had stayed and we played different tactics, we would have won that, in my opinion, and he would have scored and we could have done better. But we weren't playing to it. And that's the bigger picture. But to answer from the psychological point, don't be attached to the outcome. Not NATO, not attached to outcome. And if you can do it, it's like golfers. They're play one bad shot and it's the end of the world. Instead of saying, well, yeah, what did I do wrong? Am I going to put it right? And focus on the process, not on the outcome. Business is exactly the same.
Yeah, I think that outcome thing is the problem. I mean, I talk about football all the time, but it is the problem that Harry's had and England have had for a long time.
Yeah.
If you look back to the last World Cup, England played France in the quarterfinals. England were arguably the better team in that game. Yeah. Harry had a penalty late on, which would have taken it to extra time, and he was probably focused on the outcome. This is to take this game to extra time, to beat France, to go to the semi-final of the World Cup, where we've got a really good chance of winning it. Yeah. Not, this is a penalty that I've done hundreds of times before, and 19 times out of 20, I score them. Yeah. And he missed it.
It's all process. It's all process. And I think if England had a process that was, they would have won it. I mean, Spain are a bloody good side, but we should have beaten Italy. The previous one to that. And technically, with the players that are in the England side, we could do so much better. And I think, we just processes. But I mean, we're going through the change at Tottenham at the moment, with Postecoglou. I really like him as manager. And I think, but, when I look at some of the forums about Tottenham and speak to people, obviously, because I'm there every week or every home game anyway, there's so much negative abuse because they're all focused on the outcome. But if you speak to Ange, he's talking about building for the future, but they're putting the process together for it. With Arteta at Arsenal, it's taken 5 years to get that, to be as good as they are. And as much as it sticks in my throat to say that, they are probably one of the best sides other than City. They are one of the best sides in the league. And 5 years it's taken him. And I think, to expect people to do it overnight is to get the process right. If the process is right, you'll get a better outcome. Business is exactly the same as that. It really is. If all your focus on is networking, must go networking and sell. Therefore, if I stick my business card right on the end of your nose, right, I'm going to get loads of work. Right, that's wrong. The process is build the relationship. If you build the relationship, you'll get the business. But people don't understand. They've got to have an outcome. Oh, must sell, must sell. If I'm not selling, I'm not. That's no good.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. Yeah, because I'm learning golf at the moment, and
Oh, right, okay.
I've been told that I'm doing it the way most people don't do it, which is the right way. Most people get a golf club, they go out on the golf course, and they have a go at it for a bit, and then they realise that I probably should have some lessons on this, and they go have lessons, and the coach has to try and correct all the stuff
they've done. Yeah.
they're doing wrong. I've gone straight for lessons. I didn't go anywhere near a golf course. I didn't pick up a club. I didn't go near a driving range until I had lessons. So I'm doing the whole thing from scratch, the processes. So when I've now been on a golf course once. I've done 9 holes on a golf course, and I followed the process exactly from what I was taught. And I missed the ball on my first shot completely. Yeah. Because it happens. Then did the process exactly the same again and hit it. First shot went straight down the middle, about 120 yards. Perfect. It's all about the process. Because if you focus on, I need to get this ball in that hole, I need to not embarrass myself in front of the people that are waiting to tee off behind me, not make a fool of myself. It was actually Shoren who introduced us. Not make a fool of myself in front of Shoren who's playing with me. It's all going to go to shit. It's all going to go wrong. Just follow the process for what you do, and the results will happen at the end of it.
It's all process, especially with golf. And I think, when I work with, I'm working, luckily enough, I've got a couple of golfers. One of them is a very young lady. She's 20. She plays off +4, which, won't mean anything to a lot of people, but she's very, very good. The bit that's going to get her a card this year on the tour is her mind, because she was so outcome attached that, for all of the beliefs, all that we talked about, the inhibitive and compulsive negative habit patterns, and that bit about, I must win. I'm a sportsman. I want to win because I'm a sportsman. I'm a businessman. I want to make money because that's it. But my focus isn't about winning or getting the money. It's about getting the process right. If the process, how many people can say they get over 90% of their business from people they know? So the process is in place to do that. And golf is the same, and this girl, she will do it. I promise you she would go on and do it. But the thing for me, I've got 4. Am I allowed to swear?
Of course you are. Swear away.
Right. So four Fs. Right. The 4 Fs. When you make a bad shot, the first F is fuck it. Okay. Yeah. The next F is fix it. The next F is forget it. The next F is focus. So fuck it, fix it, forget it, focus. If you think about that, you get on. But most people, golfers, they go out there, they don't play from week to week. They seen all the pros on the telly that hit balls like that, but they don't know that most pros hit over 500 balls a day. Some of these guys won't hit 500 balls. Well, they might in 2 rounds, no, in 4 rounds. But you can't without the practice. And it's a process. I sound really boring now, don't I?
No. I mean, you've nailed that for sport and for business as well. Everybody looks at the successes. They look at, oh, look at you. You drive around in that flash car. You have loads of holidays. You spend half the week on the golf course.
You've been reading my diary.
Maybe. You seem to be living a fantastic life. I'd love to do what you do. I'd love to have it easy like you've got. But they don't see the work you've done to get there, work you've done to put it in, all the times you did work without being paid, all the times you were working up till midnight or till 2 a.m. doing this. They don't see the graft. They just see the results at the end of it and think that it's easy.
You're dead right. I had this conversation with a guy a little while ago about residual income from my books, as you can see over there, that they sell quite a few. And I said, oh yeah, but that's money for nothing. And I said, yeah. However, what about all the hours that I put into those books and my experience of life and everything to go into the book that's now selling? I've done the work. It's now paying it. So it's not money for nothing, because it's money that I've invested, time I've invested into that. But most people see giving up time and hard work as sacrifice. They don't see it as an investment. And the same thing if you want to use the golf. When we sold the business in 2002 and started the coaching stroke psychology business, I stopped playing golf, and I was at it. I was pretty reasonable then, and I stopped playing for 15 years. And people say, "Oh, you sacrificed your golf." No, I didn't sacrifice my golf. I invested my time differently. So can you see the language pattern? I see it as a positive. And now I've got, well, that was quite funny. When I started again about 5 years ago, the new guys that I've met playing with, I said, "So what's your handicap then?" I said, "Well, I used to play off of 5." You should have seen their faces. You've never played off 5 in your life. And now I'm down to playing off of 2 and a bit. They can see it because I was determined to get the process back and to do what it was. And it's process, everything. That's what I've learned. I've learned process works. If you stick to the process, it works. If you don't, it won't. Making money's easy, but most people spend it quicker than they earn it. So, and the more they get, the more they spend.
That's exactly what my dad said to me about 20 years ago when I was showing off about how much I was earning in a particular job I had. He said, "It's all very well bloody earning it, son, but try bloody keeping it."
And he's dead right. It's good advice. And I've said it to my boys. And, it worked. I learned very early on, save 10%. And I've saved 10% of everything that I've earned my whole life. And then what you do, you get to a point, the compound interest, and invest it in stuff that makes you money. So different mindset for people, I think. It's just how they see it. And it's not about the money.
That's right. We're running out of time, so this is not a good time for me to bring up this sort of thing. But yeah, I was about to go on a rant then. You're right. It is mindset, isn't it? Because whenever I've watched game shows every now and then. I try not to watch daytime TV because it just depresses me. It's so banal. But whenever you see somebody on a game show, the host will ask them, "Oh, if you win, what are you going to spend the money on? What are you going to spend?" And it's always like, "Oh, I'm going to have a holiday, or I'm going to have a car, or I'm going to get extension to my house." Nobody ever says, "I'm going to invest in a business, or I'm going to buy a couple of buy-to-lets, or I'm going to put some in stock in a stocks and shares ISA." It's never that. It's always, what am I going to spend the money on? That's why people genuinely, not just in the UK, globally, they get the money, they piss it up the wall. They get the money, they piss it up the wall. And then they look at people who are successful and go, "Oh, he's lucky. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Oh, he hasn't got a care in the world, that CEO of that business." Just because he didn't piss it up the wall on a frickin' holiday or buying fucking racetrack for his back garden or handbags. Yeah. And it's just a different mentality. That pisses me off. So, yeah.
It's funny. I love that. But I've got 5 businesses that are all doing quite well because I'm a businessman, and I realise that having business allows me to have the business. To have the lifestyle that I want. But from probably about the age of 30, I remember it well. My business partner and I, in our first business, in the April of that year, and it was 1989, we had over £1 million in the bank. All that, we both had nice houses, everything there was great. By in April in 91, which is when I sold my shares to him for that business and moved on, we had no money in the bank, struggling like mad, and gone from 86 employees down to 16 because of the recession in that year and the property crash and everything. It was mental. And it was a big learning curve then, a massive learning curve about holding on and spreading the risk. And people don't understand that. And I think, that for me was a big learning curve about saving. And I've always kept the saving, and I've always put the money aside. But business is the way to actually give you a future and to give you the life that you want. And then when people, this could be another subject, but work-life balance. I think work-life balance is complete bollocks, right? Sorry, but I do, because it's not about the balance. It's about designing the life that you want. Why wouldn't you do it? And then people say, oh, I can't do that because I can't do that. I've got ADHD. I can't do that. I've got bipolar. I can't do that because I've got a verruca on the end of my big toe. All of the reasons why I can't do it, rather than say, right, how am I going to do this? What do I need to do that and put it right? And stop making excuses and actually do it. And that is part of my role with people. And like the guy that we just done a discovery call with, and I said to him, look, don't waste your money working with me if you're not going to do the stuff we talk about. Go and work with somebody else that wants to blow smoke up your ass and just says he can take your money, because I don't want your money unless you're going to put the work in. If you put the work in, we'll work together. But that's a mindset, because it suits the powers to be to keep us in fear, because if we're in fear, they can control us. And that's a big subject there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. I think it is about controlling people and keeping them where they are, because
of course it is.
They need people working. They need people in employment. They need, for want of a better word, they need drones.
Yeah, of course they do. The government wouldn't want people like me. Yes, I pay tax, but I don't pay tax as much as all the other people that work for people, because enough of them will pay more and they'll keep them doing it. And I think they don't want that. And I think it just keeps you in fear that they can control you. I launched a new course at the beginning of the year called the C word course. And it's not, C #NT, right?
Yeah.
That's can't.
Can't. Yes,
Yeah,
of course. Of course it's can't. Of course it's can't.
Word.
Yeah.
But it's about control, coercion, conditioning, choice, consequence, can't. All of those C words that people, you don't even realize you've been conditioned into believing stuff. And another C word is conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a cause and effect type person, choice and consequence. So when people say to me, yeah, well, networking doesn't work, I'll just say, well, how's that working out for you then? Keep doing it if it's working. What is working for you? Why are you still skint? Sorry.
I need to use that one. Why are you still skint?
Yeah. Well, why are you still skint if you ain't got enough money?
Yeah.
Because the strategy you're using, it's giving you not enough money.
Yeah. Go and buy your fucking scratch cards. I'm sure it'll work out for you one day.
Exactly. People say to me, what would you do if you win the lottery? I said, well, it'd be a miracle, because I don't do it.
Because I don't play it. Yeah, I don't play it either.
Why would I put my money into that? I'd rather put that into an investment.
Yeah, tax on the poor.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes me smile.
Right. I think we are out of time now.
Okay, I'm sorry if I've droned on a bit.
No, it's been perfect. It's been perfect. So for anyone listening to this thinking, I need to find out more, what's the best way for someone to reach out and get in contact with you?
So first of all, the easy way to remember it is #FlipFlopPsycho, all one word. You'll find me all over the bloody place. You can go on to TikTok and take the piss if you like. Lots of other people have. I love it. Thank you. As much abuse as you want to give, because if you're picking on me, you're leaving somebody else alone. Or, ashlawrence.co.uk. Anything they want, have a look. But what I'll do, Darren, is I'll send you the link for the ebook on Impostor Syndrome.
Yep. And I will pop that link below the podcast, so anyone listening can just scroll down on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you are, and that link will be there for you.
Lovely job.
Ash, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Welcome.
Thank you.
If I can help, you know where I am. If you want another hour of, Amber, was I good enough there? Oh, I wonder if I said too much. That's imposter symptoms.
Imposter symptoms, not syndrome.
Yeah, that's exactly right.